Hello and welcome to day 2 of I Can Solve Percent of Change Problems. This is Mr. Frank and here we go. So we are in the middle of the unit. We are right now at 7B, so that's day 2 of solving percent of change problems. So I want to talk about the percent of change formula for a second. Notice that there are three elements we need, three pieces in this formula. There's the percent of change, percent P, is the amount of the increase or the decrease, and there's the original amount. And those three are listed right here as well. And I have them in this three-way puzzle piece. And the cool thing is, if you had any two of these puzzle pieces, you could then figure out the third. So if I had percent change and amount of increase or decrease, I could figure out the original amount. If I had the amount of increase or decrease and the original amount, I could figure out percent change. And if I had the original amount and percent change, I could figure out the amount of increase or decrease. And that's what we're going to work on today, where we're given two of them and we need to figure out the third. So let's start using this. So we have, let's see, the question is 200 is increased by 4%. So let's see which two we have. Well, 200, that's the original amount, and it's increased by 4%. That's the percent change. So we need to figure out the amount of increase or decrease. So I just circled the two here that we have, and we'll figure out the amount of increase or decrease by putting the numbers we have into the formula. So the percent change is 4%, and that's going to equal some amount, we'll call that x, over the original amount, which is 200. Now we need to solve for x. So we know how to do this. This is we need to do either a one or a two-step equation depending on the formula, but here we have a one-step equation. So we're going to multiply both sides by 200. But first we're going to convert this percent into a decimal. It's easier to work with decimals when we're multiplying. So yesterday we went over the percent to decimal conversion. If you need a review, you can watch yesterday's video. So now we're going to multiply both sides by 200. So we're going to undo division with multiplication. And when we multiply the 200s right here in the denominator and multiply by 200, that cancels out. So we're multiplying 200 by 0 and 4 1/100ths. And we get x equals 8. Now, so that's my amount, increase or decrease. So we need to ask ourselves, is this an increase or a decrease? So we are told in the question that it's an increase. It's an increase of 4%. So the answer is 8 in terms of the increase, but we want to find the total amount. So we're going to add 8 to our original amount of 200, and we're going to get 208. So when 200 is increased by 4%, we get 208. So we're going to get a little more practice with this. So here's a question. An amount is increased by 12, which is a 40% increase. What's the original amount? So let's see, which two do we have here out of this three? An amount is increased by 12. So that's the amount increase or decrease. And it's a 40% increase. So that's the percent change. And we're actually asked, what is the original amount? So we need to figure out the original amount. So if I circle the two we have, you see that there. And we'll put the values into the equation. Percent change is 40%, and the amount increase or decrease is 12, and it's going to be over x. So now we need to solve for x. So let's change that percent into a decimal, and we get 40 hundredths is equal to 12 over x. Now there are a few different ways you can solve this. I'm going to multiply both sides by x first, because let's get rid of this here, the x in the denominator. And in effect, we're bringing it to the other side. So then we come up with 0.4 40 hundredths x is equal to 12. Now we're going to undo this multiplication here with division. So we'll divide both sides by 40 hundredths, and we get x is equal to 12 over 0.4 rather, or 0.40. And that's going to be, if you put that in your calculator or you figure it out, x would equal 30. So that means 30 is the original amount. So an amount increased by 12, and it's a 40% increase. What's the original amount? The original amount is 30. So you can always check your work by putting these numbers back into the original formula. And if you say 40% is equal to 12 over 30, if you worked through that math, you would in fact find that that is true. All right, let's try some more problems. So using the percent change formula, 70 is decreased by 30%. So we look at the puzzle, we say which two do we have? And the two that we have is the percent change, 30%, and the original amount, which is 70. So I'm going to pause here, ask you to pause here, and I want you to work through the rest of this problem, and then hit unpause when you are ready. All right, welcome back. Let's see how you did. So you should have written the formula out as 30% is equal to x over 70. And if you work through that, we change the percent to a decimal, we multiply both sides by 70, and you would have x equals to 21, but you need to figure out whether this is an increase or a decrease. So let's look at the original question. It's decreased by 30. So the amount increased, or the amount of increase or decrease is 21, and is it an increase or a decrease? Well, it's a decrease, and it's decreased by 21. So the new total is 70 minus 21 because I'm decreasing it by 21, and I get 49. So that would be my answer for that question. All right, let's try another one. So let's go shopping, right? We love to go shopping. We're going shopping for a shirt. It's $24. The regular price is $24. There's a 20% off sale. So what's the new price for the shirt? Well, which two do we have? We know we have the percent change, and we know we have the original amount. The original amount. So we need to find the amount of our increase or decrease, and then the new value for the shirt. So we set up our equation. Well, I'll actually have you pause here, set up the equation, and then come on back. All right, welcome back. Let's see how you did setting up the equation. So the percent change should be 20%, and we need to figure out the amount of increase or decrease, and the original amount was $24. So we set up our equation, we change our percent to a decimal, and I will multiply both sides by 24 to undo this division. We multiply to undo the division, and we get 4.8 is equal to x. Now that's really $4.80. Now is that a decrease or an increase? Let's see, it's a percent off, so that's going to be a decrease. So the decrease is $4.80. So the new total would be $24 minus $4.80, or $19.20 for the shirt. All right, now let's add a little extra to this. We're going to add a variable. So let's find the percent increase or decrease of 6x to 9x. So that's going to be an increase because the number is increasing, 6x to 9x. But we treat something with a variable the exact same way we would treat it if there was no variable. So we need to find the percent increase or decrease. So we're going to find the percent change, and we have the other two amounts, the other two values. So the amount increase or decrease will be 9x minus 6x, and the original amount is 6x. If we work through this math, we get 3x over 6x. The x's will cancel each other out because we're dividing. X over x would equal 1. So that cancels each other out, and then I simplify the 3 over 6 to be 1/2. Now we need to change 1/2. That's a fraction. We need to change that into a percent. So let's change 1/2 into a decimal first. That would be 0.50. And now we can change it into a percent. So that would be 50%. So the answer is it's a percent increase of 50%. All right, now on your own, you've had some practice. If you need to go back to the last 4 slides and get a refresher on it, just do that. But you should be able to do this on your own. The Minnesota Timberwolves, that's a basketball team in the NBA, they sell tickets for $40. There's a student discount of 30%. What's the new price of the ticket for students? So pause here, do this, and bring it into class tomorrow. And again, if you're not sure what to do, rewind the last few slides and watch them again. That should help you, and you can take some more notes. So bring your sheet back with you to class tomorrow. And before you finish, if you could just note something you learned or were reminded of, and questions that you have are. Hope you enjoyed it. Have a great night.